Right. So again, welcome to everybody. This is our November meeting for the Spark Google User Group, and we are calling it the Spark Google User Group, but really it's open to anybody. We're more than happy to have folks from all over Ohio, or people that are, you know, in different states or different countries, anywhere. That's perfectly fine. We're open to anybody. We'd love to have anybody join and share your ideas or share your questions. Anthony, who's up at Garfield, and then myself, I'm Eric, here at the Spark offices, where we are representing Spark, and so we are calling this the Spark Google User Group for November. I'm going to start off here with a couple quick housekeeping things just to make sure everybody has access to all the information that we're going to be sharing here today. So the first thing that I want to mention is I want to make sure that everybody can get to the shared agenda that we have today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a quick screen share and show you the link that everybody needs to be aware of. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here real quick. There we go. So this is the agenda that we want to be able to get to, but I want to make sure you know how to get to that agenda. And so let me see if I've got the link on here. Yes, here it is. All right. So the link that I want to draw your attention to is right here in the agenda under the Updates section, and that is google.apps.spark.org/user group. That is the key link that pretty much everything is going to function off of. So as long as you have that link, you're golden. You can get to all of the stuff that we're going to have here, because if I follow that link, I'll show you where it takes me out to. It takes me out to our user group webpage. And from there, you're going to see we have all of the links you need for everything else. So again, that key link is google.apps.spark.org/user group. And what you're going to see when you get there is for each of our meetings a number of links. So today, obviously, our 21st of November meeting, we do have links to how to get to the locations. So those of you who came in person, we always try to provide those so you know where these are going to be at. I then have a link to the live video. For those of you that aren't able to be in person, you can always click that link. That basically takes you out to the event page, and from that event page you can go ahead and hit the play button and you can play the video while we're going live. So you can watch this from any location. And then next to there is a link to the agenda, and the agenda is this document that I was referring to at the beginning, where we're going to have all of the links for today, and this is editable. Anybody who wants to type in this can. We encourage you to do so. There are some sections in here that really lend themselves to getting feedback from you guys, and we'll take a look at that as we move through this today. You'll see there is a section down here for questions and answers and a question for show and tell, and we would love if you have any questions, anything that you'd like to chat about today, that's great. And under show and tell, if there's a neat new thing you'd like to share, just something you'd like to say, hey, here's a cool thing I learned, or here's something neat we're doing in our district. We'd really love this to have a lot more user participation, so we'd love to have you guys go ahead and edit either the questions and answers or the show and tell. You certainly can do that. Now, at the same time, I do want to mention there is a final column on this grid here, which is for the recorded video. These are Hangouts on air, so they are being recorded so people can view them later. And so when the Hangout is done, within a day or so after that, I will add a link here to the YouTube video so that you can view ones that you missed, or if you need to go back and catch something and see it again, or you want to share this information with a colleague, folks can come here and you'll be able to view all of our archived videos from our different Google meetings. And so just for that quick housekeeping, again, just wanted to make sure everybody felt comfortable with that, that as long as you can get to google.apps.spark.org/user group, you can get to everything related to these meetings. So I'm going to pause there for a second. Anybody need any assistance in this room? You guys all okay in here? Okay. Anthony, how about up there at Garfield? Everybody okay there? Oh, I cannot hear you. You might be muted at the moment, Anthony. Just want to make sure that everything's okay up there for you guys. Still can't hear you.
I think it's okay now.
There you go. Now I can hear you. All right, very good. All right. So is everything okay up there?
Yes, doing fine.
Fantastic. Well, as always, jump in at any point all the way through this, and we're going to go ahead and we'll get started. So I'm going to head back up to the top of our agenda, and we'll finish up our housekeeping things here. This is a monthly meeting. Well, we try to have these the third Friday of every month. We have experimented with a couple of different options. We did try one that was a after-school meeting, and that was nice, but I don't think it met the needs as best as we had hoped for the majority of the folks. So we're probably going to stick with these being meetings that are during the school day. This one today is a little different. Normally we do like a 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. meeting. There were some other meetings that we had to attend this morning, so we're doing a 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock meeting. For those that are in attendance here today, I'm assuming this is a good time for you. Any feedback on that? I mean, that's our idea, is to continue doing like a third Friday during the day. That works for you guys here? Okay. And again, there's no perfect time. We know that. Nothing's ever perfect as far as, you know, fitting with everybody's schedule. But we're going to go ahead and stick with the third Friday of the month. Definitely always check on that user group page that we mentioned. This will give you for sure exactly the date and time of the meetings, and definitely check before you drive out to one of these, because if there's any adjustment, we will make adjustments up to the last minute on here. And you know, this is definitely the place you want to go, is our user group page, to be able to see if there's been a change in location, date, or time as we go through these. All right, let's keep on scrolling down. So first thing up, the welcome and introductions. So again, hi, my name's Eric. I work here at Spark as one of the technology integration specialists, and get to do a lot of fun googly things with that. I should probably stop sharing my screen so you can actually see me when I'm saying that. Hi, there you go. Hi, I'm Eric. At the same time, up in Garfield, Anthony, I'm going to put you up on the screen here. Go ahead and you can introduce yourself as well.
I'm Anthony Lesky from Spark, and to my right, your left.
Yes. Ted Lysick from Garfield.
Fantastic. So glad to have you guys there. And we've got a number of folks in our audience here as well today. I won't turn the camera on them right now, but we're joined by lots of folks from different schools in this area. So let me go ahead and pop back over to our shared agenda. In addition to the one link that I shared with you guys earlier, just be aware we do have a number of other useful links that are in the agenda, and one of them I definitely want to call your attention to is the sign-in form. We will send out a certificate of attendance, and I still need to do it from last session, so I apologize those folks who haven't gotten theirs yet. I'll send that out in addition to this one. But as you attend these meetings, we want to make sure that we give you a certificate of attendance for that, and so there is a link here in the important links section that allows you to go out to a Google form where you can fill in your name and your email address, where you're from, pick the date of the meeting, and pick how you attended it, whether you were here in person or if you were online, how you participated in the meeting. And when you submit that, I'll then be able to send out a certificate of attendance to you for doing that. A couple other important links that we always have here, and we'll probably just always keep in the agenda, is links to things such as our community site. So in addition to the user group web page that I showed you, we do have a Google community set up for our user group. And if you have not joined that community yet, I would certainly encourage you to do so. We currently have 256 members, excellent, in that community. And this is a place where you can go to always get the latest information. So anything that comes out Google related, we try to post it to the user group community. But you can also post things. You can ask questions. You can share neat resources. Whatever you might want to do, you can do that at our user group community. And there's lots of different categories, topics that you can explore. When you do post something, you can choose what category you would like to drop that post in. So definitely encourage people to join our Spark Google user group community. In addition to that, we also have one that is statewide. That's further down. That's the Ohio Google Educator group. So it's a community very much like the Spark one, but it covers the whole state. So I would encourage folks to join both. That way you can be plugged in with even more educators, but this is the Ohio Google Educator group, and we would definitely encourage people to post to that and join that group as well to connect with people all over the state of Ohio. All right. Beyond that, you see a few other links there, and those are always going to be there for you to reference if you want to get to our Google resource site and a few other things there. But just want to make sure you were aware of those resources. All right. Next up on our agenda, we're going to hit real quick just some quick updates. Now, the first one we don't really need to do because we already talked about that we've got the full schedule for the year up on our user group site, so you can see all the way through May the planned dates for our user group meetings, as well as the locations for those. And again, always check to see in case those change as we get closer. And then the other thing, I guess we just saw this, but we'll mention it again real quick, is for an update, our current member counts. The Spark user group community is up to 256, and the Google Educator group of Ohio is up to 344. So if you haven't joined those, again, there's those links again to jump online and plug into those communities. All right. Well, before we move on to the meat of our meeting with what's new in Google Apps, let me pause there for a second. Anthony, any comments or feedback or anything that you need to mention before we start rolling into what's new in Google Apps?
Just wanted to mention to you that you might hear a little background noise. That's just the enthusiastic kids next door.
Okay, so this is happening in a live school, so yes, that's perfectly fine. That is excellent. All right. Well, what we're going to do at this point, we always try to do this each meeting, is talk about what's new in Google. So what has happened since the last time we met? There's a lot of stuff. We try to pick the things that seem to be the most important, at least to an educational setting. So we're going to run down through this list. Folks here, folks up at Garfield, folks online, if you've got any comments or questions on any of these, please hop in at any point and let us know. Let me go ahead and I'll share my screen, pull those up, and we can take a look and see what is new with Google. All right. All right. So the first thing, and so this is, again, since the last meeting, so this doesn't really go from the start of the month to the end of the month, it's just since our last time we met, so basically late October. The first new thing to mention is that option for Google Forms. In the past, you've had the ability to do add-ons for Google Docs as well as Google Sheets, and now they've rolled this out for Google Forms. Now the plan is later in our meeting today, we're actually going to take some time and really dig into that. That'll be part of the show and tell to see what what add-ons they've made available for Google Forms. But just pause out of curiosity, those of you who are here up at Garfield online, have you used any of the add-ons that have come out for Google Forms, or even the ones for Sheets and Docs? Have you used any add-ons yet? Okay, what add-ons have you used for Sheets? Okay, excellent. So Flubaroo is a good example of an add-on for Google Sheets. Flubaroo allows you to grade quizzes automatically, and that's really the idea of add-ons. Is Google, they realize they don't have a tool for everything, and so they'll build docs and sheets and slides and forms, but now they're allowing other people to create these plug-in tools, these add-ons that extend the functionality outside of that. Anybody else using any add-ons? If not, that's okay. Yeah? Yes. Exactly. In Google Docs, one of the add-ons is from Text Help. It's the highlighting add-on that allows students to highlight in different colors in documents, and that one does tie in nicely to Part and the need to be able to highlight text. All right, very good. Anything up there, Anthony, as far as add-ons go?
Ted wants to mention an add-on.
Yeah, we've been using one called Chromebook Inventory, and it's a one that we use to, it's actually a script that we use to pull all of our Chromebook inventory stuff out of our domain into a spreadsheet for us to sync with our inventory and things like that.
Excellent. And that is good because that's not something that Google has anything for right now as far as really keeping track of your Chromebooks. So a Chromebook inventory add-on sounds like a really useful tool. All right, okay, we're going to spend more time looking at add-ons for forms once we get through the what's new section and move into our show and tell portion of it. All right, what else is new? Now this one, I don't know, you might question as to whether whether this is educational or not, but I think it is. Google has released a app called Google Fit for Android phones, for Android devices, and what it does is it keeps track of your movement throughout the day. So if your school is looking for a way to implement some these ideas for physical education, to be able to have kids keep track of how many steps they take in the day or things like that. Now I'm going to be really brave here, and I'm going to actually pull up my phone and show you that I've got this installed. And it's going to be embarrassing because it probably is going to say I haven't moved today yet is probably what's going to happen here. But let me grab my Fit app here. Oh boy, I'm in trouble. My wife's going to give me a rough time for this one here. I have moved 7 minutes today. Okay, so that's kind of sad. I know that's very, very sad. I've been in meetings all day. But you'll notice if I scroll back, there's much better days. Like here's an hour and 13 on that day. See, that was a good day there. And then when I was at a conference recently, I had to walk to my conference every day from the hotel, and I got some hour and 44s, a 2 hour and 4 minute, a 2 hour. So I had some really good days in there as well. So in addition to that, you can also include other activities. Like it'll track that just by my GPS. It can tell that I'm walking or jogging or what I'm doing. So if I get in the car and drive, it realizes I'm not, jogging 55 miles an hour. It doesn't count that. It realizes that. But I can add other activities if I, go and, get on the elliptical or I do something like that that's not going to be picked up by this. I can just add that in manually as well. So, and I know there's a ton of apps that do that out there. This is certainly not unique in that at all. But I thought it was at least worth noting that Google has now jumped into that area, and they now have this free app available on Android. And I did not check, I apologize, I did not check to see if it's also on iOS. But I know that Google Fit is definitely available for Android, which is the phone that I have here. So, possibility for folks doing physical education things that might be useful for you. All right, keep on heading down the line here and see what else is new. Oh, it is for iOS. Thank you for checking that. Excellent. So I'm glad to hear that. So anybody can use that free app. It is really new. There's a lot of things I'd like it to have, other bells and whistles. So hopefully this is one Google will continue to develop. Sometimes they toy around with things and maybe don't go real deep into it after that, but hopefully they will develop that app a little bit more. All right, we'll keep on heading down our list of what's new in Google Apps. Next, I know this is not new news, but it's new in the sense that it finally went into effect. Last month, we were told that Google was going to provide unlimited drive storage in Google Apps for Education. That has now gone live. So if you're using Google Apps for Education, you go to your drive and you scroll down to the bottom, you should no longer see that you have a limit on how much you can store in Google Drive, unlimited drive storage for education. So not a new item, but it is finally rolled out. All right, back to my phone again. I should have just left this on the camera. The next thing I'm going to show you is they have recently updated the Drive app. For mobile devices, specifically for Android. Again, I'm not positive about iOS for that, but for Android, they've updated the Drive app. So those schools that are using tablets or any sort of mobile devices, Google's trying to get the mobile experience to be as close to the desktop experience as possible. A lot of times that's a big gap there. It's like, well, hey, this is great on my desktop, but when I go to my tablet, it doesn't look anything like that. And Google's really trying to close that gap and trying to make these devices a little bit more the same. So let me go ahead and I'm gonna unshare my screen again and come back to here, and I'm going to drag this over so people in here can see. I forgot last time. You guys guys couldn't see what I was doing on my phone. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my Drive app real quick here. You have to be really careful here with the light. So I'm holding this a bit at an angle because if I do straight on, you just can't see it at all. But this is the Drive app for Android, and they've added a few new features. Just want to let you be aware of those. For example, if I go into search and I start typing in a search term, it now will start searching for that as I type it in. So, I mean, that's something you expect normally to be there, but that is something that's been added more recently to the Drive app. And once I pick a document, if I open this doc up, go ahead and choose this document. Come on. There it goes. They've improved the sharing abilities. So once I'm in this doc now, if I want to do some sharing with it, I've got a lot more options than I used to. If I go up to my little menu in the top right, and I go to share and export, I have the option to now hit share and do the normal sharing that I think we've all come to expect. You can put in somebody's email address, and then you can give them edit rights, comment rights, or view rights. And then in addition to that, if I pop back to here again, and instead of going to share, if I go down to details, in the details option, I can come down and turn on link sharing instead. I know that, let me see if that zooms in. There we go. I can do link sharing now instead of sharing with specific people. So now I can say, okay, anybody with the link can view it, edit it, or comment on that document. So, and I'll go ahead and turn that back off. But those are some new things that they've built into the Drive app for Android, and that's exciting again because some schools have gone Chromebooks, and that's fantastic, but some schools are using tablets, and you want that tablet experience to be as similar as possible to the desktop experience, and they're continuing to improve that over time. All right. And again, please stop me at any point if anybody's got a question or a comment on any of this. If you've played with some of these, experienced them, and you want to share your experience, please do that. All right, next thing up, over the last month, we were told that all of our old spreadsheets are now being migrated over to the new Sheets format. So you'll start to see that change if you haven't already seen it. Google did introduce the new version of spreadsheets quite a while back, but now they're starting to take your old spreadsheets and move them over. Now, Anthony, I know you're the spreadsheet expert. I don't know if you had anything to add on to that about that migration that's occurring. Oh, caught him off guard there. All right. Well, if you do, Anthony, let us know. We'll keep heading down. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
You're back now. We changed venues.
Oh, you moved again. So anybody that's trying to go to the Garfield meeting, you've got to try to keep up with them because that is it's like a progressive dinner. It's a progressive tech meeting. It just keeps moving from place to place. No, Anthony, I was just curious if you had anything to add. I was just curious if you had anything to add about the spreadsheet update, that they are migrating the old spreadsheets over to the new. Just didn't know if you had anything to add to that.
No, just be aware that you may see some slight differences in spreadsheets. I would check if you have any spreadsheets embedded anywhere on websites especially.
All right.
I have a question about that.
Yes, a question?
I use formula a lot, and doesn't formula only work with the old spreadsheets?
All right, good question. So one of the things that was a big issue about the change in spreadsheets. So if folks are familiar with this, the old Google spreadsheets allowed you to use what was called scripts, and the new Google spreadsheets let you use add-ons, and they're not the same thing. Okay, they do a lot of the same things, but they're not really the same thing. Well, they released add-ons, I don't know, earlier this year. So when they did, they encouraged people, please migrate over your old script to become an add-on, and a bunch of folks did that. So like Autocrat and Doctopus and Flubaroo, all of those started moving from being a script to being an add-on. Your question, though, is formule. So formule is by Andrew Stillman, the same guy who does Doctopus and Autocrat and all of those. Has that not been converted over yet from what you've seen?
From what I've seen, no.
Okay. And it's very possible that it has not yet been converted over. If I were to, let me open up spreadsheet real quick, and whoops, go over here. I'll just open up one of these. That's fine. Let's take a quick look and see what is currently in the add-ons. So if I go into spreadsheets and I go to get add-ons, I'll share my screen so you guys can see that. Is formule in there yet? I don't know.
Because the last time I checked it wasn't, and I had to go and get an old spreadsheet.
Okay. So, yeah, it looks like that may be one that has not yet been converted over, although I should be careful, some of them aren't winding up in sheets because some of them are more, whoops, did you see? You saw, hey, there it is. I spelled it wrong. It's 2 M's. Oh, fantastic. Okay, so very good. So formule, and here's the thing. I understand that some of them couldn't be converted over right away because they lack the ability to do triggers, like time-based triggers, and so when they added that to add-ons, they recently gave scripters the ability to do triggers in the add-ons. I think that allowed some of the other old scripts that relied upon, you know, some sort of a trigger to kick things off, like a date or a time or a submission, to say, oh, now we can convert it over. So that's encouraging. Excellent. I'm glad to hear that it looks like they've been able to get a lot of these other ones now moved over as add-ons. So as your old spreadsheets convert over to the new sheets, you will need to switch over any scripts to now using the appropriate add-on that goes along with that.
Eric?
Okay. Yes, Anthony.
Well, of course, I was digging through them, and I found one that looks very interesting. It's called Find Uniques, or Remove Duplicates.
Yes.
Which is new, because the formula to do that before was available, but it was just a little bit of a tricky formula.
Yes, Anthony, you are correct. And absolutely, let's chat about that when we do the show and tell later. Please think about any of the add-ons that you've used or that you've seen that you're excited about. I'd love to hear more about those. And we do have, we'll point out, we do have a help guide on our Spark site that talks all about add-ons as well. But yeah, that's a really nice one. I've used that one that removes the duplicates. That is a nice add-on. All right, very good. Well, let me go ahead and I'll close out of a few things and pop back over to where I was. Lose my place here. Sorry about that. And again, please just interrupt at any point, folks. We would love to hear from everybody who's here. All right. I should have grouped these by Android app rather than by date because we're back to another Android app. So I got to show you my phone again. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so back to my phone. Another thing that's new is, let me go ahead and fire this up, is that Google has released an update to the admin app. Now, if you're not an administrator, for your Google Apps domain, this may not, apply to you. But for those of you that are in charge of running your Google Apps domain, you may not have even known there is a mobile app for being an administrator of your Google Apps domain. So if you're somewhere that you don't have access to a computer, you can just fire up that app on your phone, and it has quite a lot of abilities. Now, you've got the normal, add user, add group is right there on the front, but I can come up here to my menu, and oops, nobody can see this in the room here. Let me pull this over. Sorry about that, guys. Now you guys can see it. Okay, so there's the app. I can add a user, I can add a group, but I can also go up to my menu here and I can pick lots of other things. Like I could say, okay, let's go into our groups and manage the different groups that we have here. Or let's go into the users and I'll say, oh, hey, there's Anthony. Time to go in and turn off Anthony's account here. Let's see. No, I won't do that.
Stored stuff.
But you've got notifications, you've got your audit logs, you've got overall settings, lots and lots of features in there. That's not everything. Obviously, it's not like sitting at the computer and having full access to be able to manage your domain. But hey, if you're on the go and there's an issue and you need to fix it real quick, just be aware that is available in the Google Play Store, again, for sure. And again, I apologize, I didn't check to see if it's available for iOS, but that is available for sure on Android devices. All right, let's get back to, There's my mic. There's my giant Blue Yeti microphone for those that are interested there. Blue Yeti makes a very nice microphone. It's a great mic. All right. All right. Back over to what's new in Google. Now this one, I'm curious, has anybody here or at Garfield or online, have any of you heard of Course Builder? Anybody know what that is? Have you ever heard of it? No? Nobody in this room? Well, one person, maybe you've heard of it. One person has heard of it. And again, I don't know if folks, online, if anybody there has heard about it, but Course Builder is a tool that Google has had around for a while. Has anybody taken some of Google's online courses, like their Power Searching with Google course? If that rings a bell for you, that one was done with Course Builder. Now, if you may not have even known this, maybe that's something we should talk about at some point. Google makes their own online courses, and they've got a Power Searching course and a part 2 to that. They've got a Map Maker course. They've got lots and lots of different online courses that they make fully available for free. Anybody can take them, and they're real good. I've gone through a bunch of them there. Well, what they use to build those online courses is a tool called Course Builder. And I've heard a lot of conflicting things about the future of Course Builder. About a year ago, I heard that Google might stop developing it and focus instead on merging their efforts with edX, one of the online MOOC providers, and that they would try to build an LMS or build out the LMS that edX had been working on and make that their new platform. Well, that hasn't happened yet. Instead, it looks like Course Builder is still alive and kicking. So if you're looking into some options for an LMS, you're looking for a way to say, hey, I'd like to have an online course, I'd like to have this available. There's so many options out there. I mean, we use Brain Honey, you've got Schoology, you've got Edmodo, you've got Moodle, you've got Haiku, Sakai, Canvas. Well, Course Builder is another one of these options, and what it does is it stores your course in Google's cloud, but it's a little bit different than a normal LMS in that there is a portion you have to download. So you do download some stuff to your local machine, work on some things, and then you upload or sync them into Google's App Engine into the cloud. But I just thought it was neat to mention that, hey, it's not dead. As of November 4th, they are rolling out some new features and some improvements that include the ability to translate the course into different languages and to integrate better with Google Drive, so you can insert documents straight from your Drive into your Course Builder, and on some other things. So it's not so much that what they've added is so much important as I just wanted you to know this exists, and they apparently are still developing it. I have taken courses through it. I have never tried to build a course with it, but could be something that if somebody out there would like to dive into deeper, I'd love to find out, your experiences with it as a possible LMS. Anthony, any feedback on that?
I've taken the Power Searching course before, and I didn't realize what it was built with.
Yeah, yep, that's built with Course Builder. And they've done more than that. I mean, that's not the only ones. There's actually quite a lot of them out there. My guess is if I were to go back to that screen and if I were to actually click the link for Course Builder, I believe if I scroll down far enough, they've got a list of all of the courses that are online. Example courses, there we go. So there's a complete list here, and as you can see, there's the Power Searching course. They did an analytics course, I remember that. And there's some that are just from other places, Indiana University and different places like that. They're not all just Google. Now Google has also done some more specifically for things like Chrome and Chromebooks, and you'll see some other ones in here as well. So definitely worth taking a look at, whether you're wanting to take a course or whether you're wanting to create a course. Be aware of that. So that's just Google Course Builder. All right, let's keep on heading down the line here. The next thing is, this is an interesting one. This is one that doesn't quite work perfectly yet, but it intrigued me enough that I said, we really need to talk about this, and that is what they're calling launching desktop applications from files in Drive. So you can visit either of these two links to get some details on this. These are articles that will explain what this is all about. Well, here's the gist. Here's the idea. let's say you really get into Chrome and Chromebooks, and your school has just gone, crazy with Chrome and Google Apps, and you love all these. Well, we won't do Chromebooks. We'll just say Chrome for this example. And you love Google Apps, and you're using, all sorts of Google tools, and your teachers say, yeah, but I still also like to use Adobe Photoshop. And I still also use AutoCAD, and I still also use Smart Notebook, and I still also use these other things that are not Google-specific tools. And they may say, you know what, Eric, I would love to be able to store all of my files in Drive and then just pull them out of there and use them when I need to, but here's what happens. Let's say we'll use Photoshop as an example. Let's say you had a file that was saved in Photoshop format and you wanted to be able to edit it. If you were to store that in Google Drive, Google's fine with that. They're like, sure, store it here, that's fine, we don't mind. But what if you wanted to go and edit that at some point? Well, in the past, what you'd have to do is you'd have to go to your Drive, find the file, download it to your local machine, open it up on the local machine using Photoshop or whatever, AutoCAD, Smart Notebook, whatever the appropriate program is, make your changes, save it again locally, and then re-upload it to your Drive and make sure you get rid of the old version that's still there, on Drive, okay? And so Drive was a great way to store stuff that was non-Google related, but it wasn't a great way to interact with things that were non-Google related. Well, this is what they're trying to fix. So the idea behind this is they're working on the ability for you to pick a file in your Google Drive, basically right-click on it, as you see in this little animation here, right-click on it, and then choose Open With. And what it will do is it will populate a menu of items of programs on your local computer that Google knows it can cooperate with. And so you could right-click on, in this case, they're showing like a Photoshop file, and then you could say Open with Photoshop, and what it's going to do is it's going to actually download the file for you, open it up properly in Photoshop, and then when you save it, it will again resync it back up to your Drive for you. And the way it's doing that is a combination of some changes to Drive as well as using the desktop version of Google Drive. Now, if you've never used that before, that's fine, but Google does release, they do have the ability for you to download and install what's called Google Drive for your desktop. And it's basically a syncing tool, a lot like Dropbox. And so you do have to have that. And I did note that in here, that this does require Drive for desktop. So you have to have that installed. And if you do, then it'll go ahead and do all this for you. So technically you could say, I'm going to keep all of my non-Google files in Drive as well. Hey, I've got unlimited storage now. Fantastic. And when I go to open up something that's non-Google, in the background, it'll get, make sure it's synced to my Drive on my local machine. It'll open up from there. I can make changes. When I hit save, it's going to sync back up to my Google Drive on the web, and it becomes seamless. I say it's exciting because I think this could really help schools that want to move away from maybe a file server and having to have all of this dedicated storage for their staff because everything could just be in Google Drive. It's not quite perfect yet. I did look into it and I read some reviews, and a lot of people were kind of upset that, well, this worked and that didn't work and I can't find this program. So let me just say, it sounds like this is brand new, like they've got a little ways to go, but I really like the idea of what they're trying to do here. Yes, in the back.
Eric, do you know, when we first started working with Google Docs, we tried the Drive application, but our users' home directories are stored on server drives, on network drives. And it would not allow us to select that as their home location.
To my knowledge, no. For those that didn't hear, the question was, if you installed the local Google Drive for your desktop program, okay, so I wish they called it something different because you got Drive for the web and Drive for the desktop. I wish they called it Google Sync or something else. It gets confusing. But if you downloaded the Drive program that runs on your computer, you have to specify where is the folder on your machine where all of these synced files get stored. Well, 2 years ago when this rolled out, I did exactly what you did. I said, oh, fantastic, let's point that folder to their share on our, on our file server here in our district, and it wouldn't let me. It said, no, this has to be a local directory. This can't be something that is out on the network. I am not aware of any changes to that. If anybody knows that they've changed anything, let me know. But to my knowledge, no, it has to be a local directory on that computer that you're at. Because of that reason, we don't see Drive for desktop being used a lot in schools because a lot of our computers are used by multiple students, you know, and you don't want it syncing files to the local machine. The only place I see it used is where somebody says, this is my computer, I'm always on this computer, I don't share it with anybody else. Like, I use it on my home computer. I've got it installed on my home computer, it keeps everything synced, it's fantastic, works great. But in a shared environment, it doesn't lend itself as well to that. Any other comments? Or Anthony, anything up there on that?
No, just waiting anxiously for it to work perfectly because it looks great.
Yeah, I think that is a really encouraging tool. All right, fantastic. Well, let's keep on going, and let's see what's shaking next here. Okay. Oh, this is worth noting. Lesson plans were written by Google certified teachers for the new movie Interstellar. Anybody seen Interstellar, the movie, yet? Good, because I haven't either. Don't spoil it for me. Okay, good. I have not seen it yet. Looks like a fantastic movie. If you would like, you know, to tap into the excitement about that new movie, there are lesson plans written by Google certified teachers that cover lots and lots of different topics in middle school and high school, and also then tie into the movie itself. So you can come in here and either look through the lessons they've got here, or you can filter them down in different ways. But these are by Google certified teachers, many of whom I know. I've got the privilege of knowing. I'll go down this list to see a lot of names. Moss Pike, I know him, and Michael Hernandez. Both of those were actually in one of the cohorts that I was in for being a Google certified teacher. So awesome, excellent people. Definitely encourage you to check out those lesson plans if you're looking for something for your students to tie into that. All right, and I'm not sure what just happened here. Whoops! I think we got a link pasted in the middle of this. I'm going to take that out real quick. There we go. All right, and again, please interrupt me at any point if anybody has a comment or a question on any of those things. Next up, oh, this isn't big, but I don't know, it's kind of cool. Google, in their search, has now added the ability to flip a coin or roll a die. So if I open up just the regular Google page, I guess this will work fine here, and I type in flip a coin, and I run a search for that, it will flip a coin for you. So if you just needed a coin flip in class, and you know, we're educators, we don't have a lot of money, so maybe you don't have any change on you, or maybe you've lost all your cents. Okay, there you go. You could just type in flip a coin, and if you hit flip it again, it'll flip it again for you. You can do the same thing with roll a die. And there it is. So it'll just roll a die for you, and you can let it re-roll that as well. Now, it only works for flipping a coin and a six-sided die. They haven't added any of the, you know, D20s and things for us, you know, like that. So it's just a regular six-sided die and a coin flip. Hopefully they'll add some more. But, you know, if you just needed a quick die or coin flip, that would be great. Or if you wanted your students to experiment with probability, this would be a great way for them to just keep, you know, rolling this and seeing what they get, and then tracking the results and seeing, you know, how random really is. There could be a lot of good things that could come from that. All right. Any other feedback on that? All right. All right, let's keep going down. We're just about at the end of our What's New stuff. Next up, this one just came out this week. These last few were just this week. This I thought was kind of interesting. I don't really know what to make of it yet. Google is working on an image recognition technology that will actually create text descriptions of pictures. Now, my first thought behind this is this would be really great for students with special needs. If somebody was visually impaired, what's happening is basically Google's been working on this technology where they take an image and they feed it into this program, and then Google spits out what it believes that's a picture of. So they gave Google the picture of this right here with the pizzas and the oven and all that, and when it did, what popped out from that, let me see, I think they had it on here somewhere, yes, was 2 pizzas sitting on top of a stovetop oven. So it looked at that, and Google said that is 2 pizzas sitting on top of a stovetop oven. Pretty darn good, actually. Now, they said it's still being developed because further down, you may not be able to see this real well here. I guess I could, actually, I think the other one has a bigger image of this. Let me go into the other one. I think this is a larger picture on this one here of they show you that sometimes they worked and sometimes they didn't. So, for example, here you've got a column where they described them properly without any errors. And so that included a person riding on a motorcycle on a dirt road, a group of young people playing frisbee, a herd of elephants walking across a grass field. But as you move across, you'll see they've got some with minor errors, like 2 dogs playing in the grass when it's really 3, to a column of somewhat related to the image where it really wasn't very close, but like a skateboarder does a trick on a ramp and it's actually a bicyclist, to the far, far right where it's completely unrelated, and it says like a dog is jumping to catch a frisbee. Well, at least there's a dog there. To a refrigerator filled with lots of food and drinks. Well, no, that's a street sign. And a yellow school bus parked in the parking lot. Unless some of you guys have school buses that look like that car that looks like a mouse or whatever, then that's probably not right. But you know what? I'm still really impressed and really excited where this could go. That again, it could provide some help for students who have visual impairments. But then who knows what other possibilities could come from its ability to identify what's happening inside of images. So I just thought that was a really cool one, a big what if of where they're going with some of their research. All right. And the very last one, very last news thing, and then I'd love to hear from you guys if you've got any other things you've heard of or any feedback you'd like to give on these. The last news item is that the Chrome Web Store has added a new tab to their web apps. Let me show you this. If I pop over, actually let me use, I'm going to use a different screen because I'm going to go with my, let me go with my Spark account instead of my personal account on this one because it already has the education groups pulled together. So let's go with that, and I have to find it. Let me see where that's at. Should be this one. All right, sorry about that. All right. So if we take a look and I go to the Chrome Web Store, so let me pop over to my apps page. Let me go to the Chrome Web Store. In the Chrome Web Store, this is, of course, where we can go to find all these awesome web apps and extensions for Chrome. Well, if I'm on my Google Apps for Education account, I also get some special collections, like there's an elementary school collection, middle school, and high school that I don't get to on my personal account. Well, here's the point of what I'm talking about with all of this. Now, in the past, when you would go and click on a web app, it would give you just a little bit of information about it. And some of them still just give that, like there'd be an overview of it, there'd be reviews of it, and there'd be some related apps, okay? Well, now, some of these, let me see if I can pick a good example. There we go. So like with the GeoGebra app, instead of just an overview, and instead of just reviews and related apps, there's now a support tab. And in the support tab, you can come in here and you can ask questions, you can offer a suggestion, you can report a problem, and all of those will get collected together on the support tab, and the person, the company, or whoever produces the app can come in here and answer all of those. So it allows for a one-stop shop location to get support and feedback on apps. So I think that's really nice that all of that is now being pulled together inside of the App Store. Now, not all of them do that. I mean, if I click on some of them, well, that one does. That's fantastic. But some of them don't, like WeVideo, like I mentioned. They haven't added a support tab yet. But many of them are adding that support tab in there, and I can see how that's going to be really useful for people to be able to, well, some of them don't have anything in the support tab yet, but those that have added them and do, that's great. All right? All right. Let me go ahead and stop there. Anthony, any comments or questions up at Garfield?
No, we've just been playing with some things. We'll show you later.
Okay, that's fantastic. Here at Spark, questions, comments, anything that you guys wanted to share about new stuff with Google? All right. All right. Well, we're about ready to move into our Q&A and our show and tell section. So again, I'm just going to remind everybody that if you are either here in person or if you are watching live online, feel free to go down in the agenda to the Q&A section. Feel free to put in any kind of questions you have, something you'd like to chat about, or in the show and tell section, if there's stuff that you would like to be able to share with the group. We don't want it just to be Anthony and myself sharing ideas. We would love to hear from you guys. So the last thing before we move on over to that is the upcoming events section. There's a few things in there. We are trying something new starting in December. We're going to see how it goes. If it goes well, fantastic. We'll just keep on doing this. But we've been thinking, Anthony and I, saying, how can we provide PD? What's a good way to provide PD to the schools? Now, keep in mind, any Spark district, we are available for you. If you need us, you call us, and if we're available, we're there. I mean, that's our service to you. So, and we do a lot of that. Anthony and I go out and we do trainings at schools all around here, and that's fantastic. Absolutely love doing that. At the same time, though, we wanted to make sure that we were reaching schools that maybe weren't able to schedule with us or didn't have a waiver day to work with. So last year we did a lot of PD in person, and we can do that again, absolutely. Now, we're doing PD in person in your district, but what I mean is at Spark. So here in this very room I'm sitting in right now, I did like 8 different PD sessions scattered throughout the year last year, and people could come and sign up and take those classes. They usually went from like 4 to 5 o'clock or something like that, and we did some up in Portage County as well. And that's fine. We're more than happy to do that again. That's no problem at all. But at the same time, we wanted to say, okay, what other possibilities are there? What might work? So we're going to experiment with some online PD. So in December, Anthony and I each chose a topic that we're going to do an online webinar about. So mine is going to be on December 4th from 3:30 to 4:30. Now we picked that time. We'll see how it works. We can adjust things, but we thought, okay, you're not hitting dinner, so 4:30, that's not bad, but by 3:30, most people can probably be done with their day or pretty darn close to it, and since this is a webinar, it's going to be a Google Hangout, anybody can watch it from anywhere. So if somebody is at their desk at school, as long as they can just fire up the link on their computer, they can watch the webinar. If they're at home, that's fantastic as well, and of course, it's going to be recorded just like our meetings here, so if you can't attend it live, you could always watch it later. So my topic I'm going to do is using Google Drawings for graphic organizers. So if you want to do graphic organizers, mind maps, Venn diagrams, concept webs, if you use Inspiration or Kidspiration or Lucidchart or any of those tools, and you want to say, hey, how could I do this with Google Drawings? Well, Google Drawings has added a lot of new features lately that allow you to do this, and so here's a link out to the event. Very much like what we're doing here today, it is going to be a hangout, so you can simply come to this page on that day of the training and watch it live. You can just follow along and go through the training. If you can't attend live, you could always come back later and watch the recorded video, and we'll also archive those recorded videos for everybody to have access to. In addition, we do want to be able to give contact hours for these, and so much like InfoHio does, we're going to create a short quiz that you would take after viewing the video or viewing the live webinar, that if you fill out that quiz, we'll send you a 1-hour certificate, one contact hour for doing that. So that will be the topic I'm doing. Anthony's going to be doing one on Gmail. Anthony, you want to talk a little bit about what yours is going to cover?
Yes, mine's going to cover the fact that we get overwhelmed with email and some of the tools that we can use to help sort things out, don't miss important things like Eric, or from your boss or your superintendent, whoever it may be, your spouse, and how some of those features work, filtering, labeling. We're also going to explore some of the labs, some of the experimental tools for using your inbox, and we're also going to look at the 4 different ways you can display your inbox. Most people aren't aware that there's actually 4 very distinct ways you can set up your Gmail.
Excellent. Very good. So, I don't know, not to put anybody on the spot here, but I'd love some feedback. I mean, we're just going to try it. We're going to see if it works, it works. If it doesn't, hey, we tried. We'll see. We just want to be creative and try to find ways to meet people's needs. So, I don't know. Any feedback?
Great idea.
You think it's good? Okay.
I think it's wonderful.
You think that'll be good for teachers? Okay. Okay. Anybody else?
I think it's a great idea, and I think it's a good time too, because the elementaries, most of them are done by that time, and the middle school, you know, just finished up their day probably.
Okay.
Like ours about 2:30. So I think
And most
it's
of
a good
them are
idea.
staying anyways to work, so
Right.
they could just be, plan to attend that, and
Okay.
they're not.
And they can connect to that from their desktop computer or whatever they want.
It's just going to be a live stream like this.
Home.
Yes, anywhere. Yeah, and it will be recorded so that they can watch it later on. And as these build up over time, if it works well, that's great. We could have a whole library of archived training videos to use however you want to use. And I know you definitely, certainly you lose a little bit of the face-to-face type of stuff. So please don't misunderstand this. In no way are Anthony and I going to stop doing the face-to-face trainings. We will come to your district. We will do all of those personalized face-to-face trainings. But if this also fits a niche and a need that we can use, then that's fantastic as well.
Eric?
Anthony?
Yeah, they can't get rid of us that easily.
They can't get rid of us that easily.
Then the
That's
second
right.
is, we have a possibility of putting some icing on that cake also. We're looking at different ways that we can incorporate so that you could get CUEs and/or graduate credit for attending these sessions.
Yeah, typically through Spark, if you string together 15 hours of PD, we work with Ashland and can then get a graduate credit for that. And we're absolutely going to pursue what options we have for you being able to string these together and build such a program. Yeah.
The other thing, Eric, is we would like suggestions if they have topics.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah. We just picked those because I've been playing with drawings lately and hadn't done one on that and said, hey, I'd like to try something new. And Anthony felt the same about Gmail. He thought that was something he'd seen a lot of need for out there. But we definitely would want to know from you guys what's important to you so that we pick topics that are as relevant as possible. So we're going to try it. Let's see how it goes. Please spread the word. We will too. We'll send out lots of information, but please spread the word and let's see how it goes. All right. Next up on the upcoming stuff, just a few quick notes about some conferences coming down the line here. We've got the OETC conference, which is the Columbus Conference. That is February 10th, 11th, and 12th. That's the big state conference for the state of Ohio. It's a little different this year if you're not aware. The first day is all workshops, and the second and third days are traditional sessions. So if you sign up for the OETC conference to attend it, they will ask you to choose a workshop to attend on that first day, and you'll actually, I guess, select which one you'd like to attend. And then on the other 2 days, it's just the regular 1 hour sessions you pop in and out of. The workshops are 3.5 hours long. There'll be an AM workshop and a PM workshop, and they're going to ask you to pick one of them. And then I think on the flip side of it, you're with vendors. I may be wrong there, Anthony, but I think they encourage you to go to the vendor floor and stuff like that. If you do the AM workshop, then spend your afternoon on the vendor floor. I know, Anthony, you are doing a workshop, and I am as well. Anthony, would you like to share what your workshop is that you're going to be covering?
Yes, I would be happy to. I'm going to just mention one thing first so that if they didn't realize it, the conference starts on Tuesday this year, not on Monday. So if you marked your calendar and think you have the dates wrong, that's why. I'm going to be doing mine on acceptable use policies and really focusing a lot on how we can make acceptable use policies flexible enough to cover what we want, but allow teachers to innovate.
All right. So, Anthony, you'll be dealing with stuff that probably would really affect schools as far as like technology directors and leaders in that school. Would that be correct?
Yes, I will.
All right. Very good. And then my session is on next generation assessments. I'm calling it like the assessment toolkit or something like that. So I'm going to be spending time combining a couple things. We're going to be at the Next Generation website that I put together, the nextgen.apps.spark.org website, talking about next generation assessments, preparing for PART, preparing for all of these tech-enhanced tests that are coming down the line. We're going to dig real deep into what the kids need to be able to do technology-wise to be successful on those tests. But then the second half of the workshop is going to be very hands-on with building assessments. We're going to talk about using Google Forms to create assessments. We may look at things like EdSite and EduElastic and, oh goodness, there's so many of them out there, Kahoot and Socrative and all those different tools. So it's going to be all about preparing students for next generation assessments, as well as building your own assessments using tools like Google Forms, Blueberry, and other things like that. So so definitely encourage folks to find a workshop session that makes sense to you and your needs. In addition to those, I know Anthony and I will both be doing some regular sessions on the Wednesday and Thursday. Our hope is to scour through the whole list of sessions and pull out all the Google-related ones so that we can share that with the Google user group here, so you can quickly see what sessions are going to be shared from all over the state of Ohio related to Google things. Beyond that, two other conferences to keep an eye open for. The Neotech Conference, that's the one that's held up at Kent. That is a free conference, very similar to the Spark conference that we do in August. That'll be March 20th. Fantastic conference. Can't recommend that enough to folks. And then the Ohio Google Apps Summit will be in Sandusky again this year up at Kalahari, May 14th and 15th. So just be aware. Those are coming down the line.
Eric, I want to mention one thing on the Neotech conference. They will probably be coming out with proposals, opening for proposals for people to present within the next couple weeks or month.
Okay, so definitely we'll encourage people to submit proposals for that. We've got a lot of awesome things happening here locally, and we'd love for you guys to go and share the awesome things you're doing at that conference. All right, anything else on upcoming events, Anthony?
That's all.
All right. Well, we're going to take a look now and see if we did wind up with any Q&A. The only thing I see at the moment is that a suggestion, excellent, for the Google Tools for Special Needs presentation. That would be a good topic for one of our webinars. I would be happy to run that one. That would be great. But I don't see anything else here. Did anybody have any questions or anything before we move into our show and tell? And if not, that's fine. Perfectly fine. Just wanted to make sure we didn't overlook anybody who wanted to ask a question. I'm going to check real quick on our user group or on our Hangout page here to see if anything popped up here. I'm going to reload it, make sure I didn't miss. I'll see if there's any questions that have popped up that I did not see. Nope, don't see any there either, and that's fine. You know, no problem at all. All right, well, we're going to move into show and tell. And again, I'm going to share some things, Anthony's going to share some things, but honestly, guys, we want you to share things. So this is, again, my encouragement, my challenge to you. Please, for next month and coming months, please try to bump Anthony and I off of this list. We don't want to be the ones that are always talking at this point. We want to hear what's happening in your district. What's a cool thing you're doing with the Google Apps? What's a neat thing you've learned? Please, 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 I would encourage you to add some things in here that you would like to share, and we would love to have you guys sort of take over this portion of the meeting much more than us. What I said that I was going to talk about was two things. And the first one is the new add-ons that have come out for Forms. Now, there's a bunch of them there. I was going to show real quick 5 that I thought, hey, these are pretty cool. If you didn't know about these, this would be really beneficial for you to be aware of. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to my other account. I've got all of this on my other account. Let me close out of a couple things and switch over to this account here. There we go. All right, so this is my Spark account, and what I did was I went ahead and created 5 forms to illustrate the 5 different add-ons I wanted to highlight for this particular session. But I would love to hear from anybody here or up at Garfield online if there's an add-on that you particularly like and you'd like to talk about as well. But I'm going to start off with formLimiter, and I'll fire this one up. Okay, so before we dive into it, I just want to make sure everybody understands, again, the concept of add-ons. Add-ons are things that Google did not create themselves. These are third-party tools. Somebody else made them. It might be an educator. It might be a company. It might be somebody in their basement. Who knows? But somebody who is very generous and kind created these add-ons and made them available for us. So in the past, you've had add-ons for Google Documents, and you've had add-ons for Google Sheets. They've just, in this last month now, rolled out add-ons for Google Forms. So if I'm in a Google form and I go up to the top of my menu bar and I click on add-ons, you'll see that I get a list of all the add-ons I've installed, but I also get the little button that says Get Add-ons, that if I give a click on that, you'll see that I can go out and look through the available add-ons, and then I can install them. To install an add-on, it's really nothing more than coming in and saying, oh, this one looks interesting, I wonder what that does. Taking my mouse, clicking on it, reading more about it, looking at the reviews if there's any reviews there, and saying, yep, I think I like that. And then if so, clicking the plus free button, and boom, as simple as that, it goes ahead and installs that add-on for you. So if I wanted to install Form Ranger, for example, I could just hit plus free. It would ask me permission to install that, and as long as I give my permission to install that, then it says Form Ranger has been added, and I'm not really going to use that on this one here, so I'm going to close out of the Form Ranger thing over here. But you'll see that now, anytime I go to add-ons, Form Ranger would be one of the add-ons that shows up in my list. Okay, so that's a simple thing to add them. If you want to get rid of them, you just go to add-ons and you choose manage add-ons, and any add-on that you got installed, like if I said, oh, I really don't want Form Ranger, I could come in and click manage, and I could choose something like remove, and it would just remove that from my list. So very easy to install and remove add-ons. Well, I've put 5 of them in here, and the first one is formLimiter. Now this question comes up all the time. Is there any way that I can make a form turn off at a certain date or time, or some trigger that makes that? Now this might be for your teacher, you've got a quiz, and you say, okay, students can submit this until midnight, and at midnight I don't want them to submit it anymore, but I don't feel like being up at midnight. I don't want to be awake at midnight and turning this off myself, because you guys can do that manually. I mean, you can go into a form, click where it says responses, and you can click the accepting responses option to toggle it between accepting responses and then not accepting responses, and now we're back to accepting again. So you can turn a form on and off, but you have to do it manually, except now you don't. Now with a tool like formLimiter, you can go in and set criteria on a form. So I went ahead and made this quick little form here, which I'll be curious if anybody knows the answer to that. Google is named after Google, the number, which is a 1 followed by how many zeros. So actually a real trivia question there. Curious, anybody know how many it is actually? All right, well, I'd have to check too. I don't know if I remember. I think it's 100. I believe it's 100 zeros. It's a 1 followed by 100 zeros. I think I created that a bit back, and I think I've forgotten already what it was. But if I had this quiz and I wanted to be able to control when students, when it would turn off, I could go to my add-ons, and I could go down to formLimiter, and I could choose Set Limit. Now, when you choose to set the limit, it pops up this little panel on the right-hand side where you can say, okay, I want it to stop at a certain date and time, so I could pick that, or I could say I want it to stop after a certain number of responses, or I want it to stop after a certain cell in the spreadsheet hits a certain criteria. So if you were doing some kind of calculations in the spreadsheet that was receiving the responses, and as soon as something happened based upon your calculations, that could be your trigger as well. For my example, I mean, date and time makes a lot of sense. You could say, pick a certain date, pick a certain, time, and say, as of this date and this time, I want it to stop. For my example, though, for today, I'm going to use maximum number of form responses, and I'm going to say 5. I'll say that once we get 5 responses, I don't want any more responses. And if I come down here and click Save and Enable, I can also come down here and tell it to email me when it gets closed, so I know that it's hit that threshold. Okay, and I can go ahead and hit Save and Enable. And so now it's saying once it's greater than 5, it'll trigger this. Now, I've played around with this, and I believe that actually means it'll take a 6th response, but then that's it. We'll see real quick here. So if I've got, at the moment, 3 responses, you can see there's 3 already. If I go View Live Form, and I say, oh, let's try 10 as a result, that should give us our 4th response. So we're still alive. Go back to View Live Form. This will be the 5th response. We'll say 100. Hit Submit. Go back to the form. We're up to 5 responses. I think by saying above 5, I believe it goes one more. Yes, so it allows a 6th response. So we'll say it's 1,000. We hit Submit, and hopefully, there it went. Boom. It turned it off. As simple as that. So once I hit that number above 5, so just keep in mind that's how that works. Once that happened, it now turned it off. So if somebody says View Live Form, it'll say, sorry, this form is no longer accepting responses. So formLimiter is a great add-on if you want to control when people have access to a form. Any comments, questions about formLimiter? All right, good stuff. All right, let's try another one here. Let me see. The next one I was going to show you was GMath. All right, now this is one that happens a lot too. This is a really, really common question I get when we're doing training on forms. How can I put mathematical expressions into my quiz? Because when you create an item in a Google form, there's no equation editor, there's no special formatting, it's just text. Well, you can put pictures in, you can put videos in, but you just have to type text for normal things. So in the past, what I've had to tell people is, okay, if you want to have a mathematical expression, create it in some other tool, save it as an image, and then stick it in. So I would go and I'd say go to something like DOM equation editor. So I would shoot them out to that, which, I mean, I'm sure I've got it on here, you know, somewhere. We could hunt it down in my list of all of my stuff. There it is, DOM. I'd go out to DOM equation editor, and from DOM equation editor, I would then use their tools to come through here and build, you know, whatever fractions and create my expression, and then I would save that as an image, or I'd save it to my Google Drive, and once I did that, then I could stick that equation, you know, whatever that equation might be, we'll just pretend it's something awesome, I would then save that, and I could stick it as an image into my form. And that's fine. There's really nothing wrong with that at all. But here's the nice thing. There's now an add-on called GMath that allows you to do the same thing just from the side of your form. So like I created this one here using GMath. Now I'll go ahead and create another one real quick just to show you. So if I go to add-ons and I go to GMath, I can create an expression, a graph, or a statistical display. I'm going to do an expression real quick. And what happens is over here, it gives me a spot where I can put in the question title if I want. I can put in the help text if I want. And then I can come down here and I can build my expression using what they call latex formatting. This is a special type of formatting. And if I don't know latex, no problem. I can come down here and click on any of these buttons to insert the general framework, and then I can go through and fill in my numbers. Okay, so you know I'll come here and I'll actually I'll edit the one that's in here already. I'll say like 3 plus 7, and then have that divided by we'll do 7 minus 2. Whatever the case might be, you could build this expression here. And again, you've got things here for exponents and all sorts of more sophisticated mathematics. But once you build it and you're happy with it, you're going to click Insert, and it's going to insert two things. It's going to insert the image, and it's going to insert a question to go along with it. So I might say something like simplify the expression, hit Insert, and once I do that, you'll see that looks good. Give it some time. Here it comes. Come on. Yay, there it is. All right. So what it does is it creates two things. First of all, it inserts the image, and then below there it inserts the question where they can type in their answer. Now, once it's inserted, you can go and change it. You can come here and say, well, you know what? I really don't need a title with the actual image, so I could take that title out, and just have the actual expression there. And I could say, you know what, I want the expression below the text box. That's fine. And then I could say something like, edit this and say simplify the expression below. You know, I could do that. If I wanted to, I could even change that into a multiple choice and say, okay, is it 1, is it 2, is it 5, is it 10, you know, what's the right answer? And so you can edit it as much as you want after it's been created, but the beauty of it is I never had to leave Google Forms. I didn't have to go out to DOM Equation Editor. This can let me build the mathematical expression, stick it in there, and then I can edit it and the corresponding question however I'd like. So, hey, for those that use math or they're math teachers, definitely encourage you to look at the GMath add-on for Google Forms. There's also a GMath add-on for Google Docs. So if you want to put these sort of expressions into a word processing document, you can use that add-on as well. Okay.
I think there's one also for Sheets.
Oh, there's for Sheets as well.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So they've got it for all of the different tools. Excellent. Very good. All right, well, let's keep heading down the line. The next add-on I wanted to talk about was Choice Eliminator. So Choice Eliminator is a great add-on if you have a form where you want people to make a choice and then remove that as an option for subsequent people. Like, let's say you were having folks schedule a meeting with you. So in my example here, I've said choose a meeting time that you want to schedule with me. And I've put in from 3 o'clock to 6:30 all these different slots. And this form, I now want people to be able to go out and pick a time. Now, of course, normally I would have, you know, what's your name, all that kind of stuff. This is a very, very simple example, but I'd ask for their name, I'd ask for all these other things, but then I'd also ask them to pick a time that they want to meet with me. It doesn't have to be this. It could be pick a topic for your report. And as soon as a student chooses one of the topics, it's now removed, and nobody can do George Washington because you got there first and you took George Washington. Okay, so how does it work, though? Well, what you do is you go back up to Add-ons, and you go to Choice Eliminator. You click on Start. And what it does is it pops up to the side, again, just like all the add-ons, and it loads in your questions. And you come in and you pick a question that you would like to apply this Eliminator tool to. In this case, I'm choosing the question, choose the meeting time you want, and then I can either check or uncheck eliminate choices. If I uncheck eliminate choices, then people can choose the same one over and over again. If I check eliminate choices, then basically I'm turning that on. I'm enabling Choice Eliminator for the question, choose the meeting time you want. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save, and I'm going to apply that. So watch what happens, guys. So remember, 3 o'clock to 6:30, 3 o'clock to 6:30. So let's go ahead and view the live form, and let's pick one of them. Let's pick 6:30. Now, as soon as I hit submit, 6:30 should no longer be an option. So let's hit submit. Very good. Let's go back to the original form. Well, look at that. It stops at 6 o'clock. It's been eliminated. So now if somebody else views the live form and they take off the 3 o'clock and hit submit, now when I go back to the form, yep, 3:30 is where it starts. It is actually editing your options as students submit those. All right? So that's another nice tool. All right.
Great for like parent-teacher conferences.
Yes. With parent-teacher conferences, there's a lot of options for that. I'd love to see somebody try this out. I know I've done a lot with appointment slots and have helped people use appointment slots for parent-teacher conference, but this might be a much more elegant solution to that. I think it could be a really nice option. Now, the only drawback I can imagine, and I know this has to be a drawback, is what if 2 people open the form at the same time? They're going to see all the options. I guess I could try that. I actually don't know what would happen if I opened it twice. So I've got 3:30 to 6, view the live form once, and then view the live form a second time. So if 2 people open it up, they're going to see the same option. So now I don't know what happens though if we both try to choose 3:30. So I'm going to take the first one. I'm going to say 3:30, submit. And then I'm going to come to the second person because they have not refreshed their page. They still think 3:30 is an option. I don't know what will happen. Let's find out. So if the second person goes to submit it, is it mad? I don't think so. It looks like it didn't get mad. It's been removed now, but if I look at the responses, oh no, it didn't let them have it. Interesting. Well, I'd have to think what to do about that, because at that point I'd have to make sure I communicate back with that person and let them know that they didn't get theirs. No warning shot up, nothing happened there. So that's something to investigate. I'd be curious to see what happened, because it did not allow that one to show up in there. So but yeah, definitely play with this one and see what you guys come up with. I'd love to see how this one might get used.
Is this just for education? Is this what they use at restaurants when you go?
These add-ons are for anybody who uses Google tools. You don't have to be a Google Apps or Education district. I can use this with my personal Gmail account. So yes, you could apply this in a business setting or a restaurant reservation. I mean, you could use it in just about anything, really. It doesn't have to be education related. Interesting.
It's a lot of the same.
Well, again, I'd be excited to see how you guys end up using these. Let's pop into the next one, which is form values example. Now this one, what it does is it just tries to save you some time. That's really what it's all about. Let's say when you create a form, you find yourself using the same values a lot of times. Like, let's say you have 5 different class periods you teach in the day. You teach period 2, period 3, period 5, period 7, and period 9. And one of the questions you find yourself throwing in again and again and again is choose your period. And so that's a question, and you're like, I have to type this in every single time. I'm always retyping this question. This one, form values, allows you to save your lists of values that you like to use frequently, and it will just add them in anytime you need them. Okay, so for my example, I am using choose your district. Now I'll actually get rid of this, and then I'll delete this and I'll put it back in. A lot of times I'll do forms where I need the person to pick what district they're from. You know, we serve like 28, 30, whatever districts here in Spark, and I will want people to indicate, well, what district are you from? And I have to go out and grab them and paste them all in every time. I've got to recreate that. Well, not anymore, I don't, because I can now use the form values one. Now here's how it works. I do have to add the blank item first because it has to have something to stick it into. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to say I'm going to add a question that simply is, you know, choose your district, and I'm going to have it be a choose from a list option. Now I'm not really going to put anything in there. I'm just going to create the question. So now I've got a spot for it. If I go up to my add-ons and I choose form values, and I get my pop-up on the side here, what you'll see is I've got a few things I can do. I can either go in and edit my initial list of values. So at some point I had to do that one time. If you click this, you'll see what it does is it opens up a spreadsheet, and all you do is type in the title at the top and you put your values below. Now I didn't do these. These came with it. Letters, teachers, and trees. I mean, I can get rid of those if I don't want them, but those came with it. Under here, districts, I filled in all of the districts that we support, okay? But I could do periods, I could do this, that, whatever. I could fill in whatever these are that I want to use over and over again. Well, now back in my form, all I have to do is pick a question and pick the values I want to go with it. So I had to make this question ahead of time. If choose your district wasn't there, I couldn't have it in the list over here. So I've got to have the question, but the question is pretty much blank. There's nothing in it. It just says option 1. But here if I say, okay, what question do I want to use? Choose your district. And what list do I want to use? Well, I want to use my districts list. And so I pick districts out of there, and that's it. Hit submit, and kaboom, it has now added those over. Really? Has it? Let's see. Come over here and click choose your district, and boom. Yep, they're all in there. So it put all of those in for me. All right? So if you end up doing similar questions over and over again, you can simply use the form values tool to quickly throw those into your form. Save you a little bit of time. Now I've saved the last one because it is the most complicated, but it's awesome. It's really powerful, but it is by far the most complicated of these. So fair warning, this is the deep end of the pool on this one. This is one called docAppender. docAppender. Now let me explain what it does as best as I can. docAppender is an add-on that lets you create a form and then choose a folder in your Google Drive that has documents in it. It then lets you go through and fill out the form and take the contents of the form and stick it on the end of any of the documents in that Drive folder. Now you would say, well, why would you do that? What's the purpose behind it? For example, let's say somebody was doing grading of a certain assignment and you're using Google Classroom. So let's say I'm in Google Classroom, and so here's my Drive, and here's my classroom, and here's my class, and here's essay number 1, and inside of essay number 1, here are all the documents that have been turned into me. And let's say I'm going to grade all of these documents. Oh, sure, I could open them up one at a time, which I will anyway. I could read through them, and yes, I could type in my grade. Perfectly fine, no problem. But what if you want to do a rubric and just make it really easy to go and check a 1 and a 5 and a 4 and a 3 and type in a few things and just throw that right onto the end of the document? That's what this does. It'll allow me to make my own rubric or whatever form I want, fill it out, and then just stick it on the end of the appropriate document that I choose. This could also be good for classroom evaluations or something. If somebody was going around and needed to do teacher evaluations, a principal could fill out the form and immediately stick it on the end of a document that is growing with information per teacher. So I'm going to use this example, though, that I'm grading these assignments. So the way it works is I went ahead and I made a quick rubric. Now this is a crazy simple one. You do something much more sophisticated than this. I made a simple rubric that has content, grammar, and punctuation. Just crazy, crazy simple. Okay, but that's the idea, is it's a rubric. You then do have to make one question that is going to be used to pick the document. Now you don't fill it in, you just say select a document or pick your document. You need to create that question because that's just like the form values. It's the placeholder. That's where all of the files from that folder are going to get filled in. But you need to at least create a question to be used for that. So that's it. Make a question that says pick your document and then fill in your rubric, fill in whatever you want to fill in there. At that point, I'll go to Add-ons, I'll go to docAppender, and I'll open it up. And it talks me through just a few steps. It's not very sophisticated, just a few. You'll get through it real quick. The first thing is pick your folder. Now, I did that earlier, but if not, you could pick a different folder. I picked the folder essay number 1, so I picked this folder right there, essay number 1. I chose that folder. Okay, so I picked my folder that I want to grade. Hit next. So step 2, pick which question is going to hold the list of your student documents. Well, I don't want to pick punctuation, grammar, or content. I want to pick the question select student document. And so that's what I've done, select student document, and then I click save and populate. And as soon as I do, it is reading. It just went out and read all of these titles, and what did it do? It filled them in. It filled all those in for me. So now where it says pick my document, I now have all of the titles from that folder. Hit next. We're just about done. It now says when you fill out this form, what do you want to stick on the end of the document? Well, I'm going to stick the timestamp and then content, grammar, and punctuation. I could have it also put the document name in there, but that doesn't make sense because I'm sticking it on the document, so I'm pretty sure they know what document I'm talking about. It's the one I'm putting it on. But I can choose whatever I want to put on there, and then I pick what does it look like. There's 3 different types. There's separated bulleted lists, separated vertical tables, and rows in a single table. Now what do those look like? I did one ahead of time. Let me show you what it looks like. This one I did ahead of time just to show you. So you've got the rows in a single horizontal table. So there's the timestamp, my content, my grammar, my punctuation. Then there's the separated bulleted list, timestamp, content, grammar, punctuation. Then there's the separate vertical tables, timestamp, content, grammar, punctuation. So which is best for you? Well, it's whatever makes sense. If you're typing a lot of stuff in, maybe the one where there's room for it to go out in this table. If it's just a quick number, well, maybe these, here makes sense, where it's all on just one line. Maybe that works for you. But the point is, you're going to pick which format. I'll just go with the bulleted one. That's fine for this example. And that's it. Hit Save Changes, and now I'm ready to go. So how would I use this? Well, basically what I would do is I'd go to my drive, and I'll open up this user. I'll open up boot user 106. This was from our boot camp. So I'm going to go into 106, and I'll be like, okay, let's grade this, blah, 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 blah. I read it. I'm like, okay, I know what grade I'm going to give boot user 106. So I go back to my form, go view my live form, and I just basically now need to come in and pick the document. Okay, boot user 106 is right there. And then boot user 106, the content was a little weak. The grammar was better. No problem with the punctuation. Hit submit. Now what should happen here? As soon as I hit submit, this, where's it at? There it is. This document, boot user 106, something ought to change here. Let's see. So let's go ahead and hit submit. It says thank you, that's done. Let's go over to the document. Boom, there it is. And so that has now been appended on that document. So if you want to create a nice, easy to use form for a rubric, for an evaluation, for, let's say you're just using this as a teacher to do informal evaluations of your students. Make a Google Drive folder, put a document in there for each of your students, and any time throughout the year ever that you want to put something in about them, have your tablet or whatever walking around with you, simply go on, click choose document, pick your kid, the correct student out of the list, and then boom, 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 fill in the form, hit submit, and boom, that's been added on to the end of that document. And it'll just keep growing, and each student will have their own document that just keeps growing with your informal evaluations that you stick on it. So it's just a nice way to have a user-friendly interface that then sticks those results onto the documents. So definitely a more sophisticated one of the ones we've looked at, but I think also has a lot of really neat potential of what you could do with it. All right, well, I'm going to pause there and see if anybody had any questions or comments or something else that you might want to mention about either some of the new add-ons for forms, or for if there's ones for docs or sheets that you really love that you wanted to say something about, or Anthony, any feedback from up there. Just want to throw this open to you guys real quick. Any feedback or comments? Any there that you think, hey, I might be able to use that? Which ones do you think look useful to you out of those? I think they're all pretty cool, but I don't know if anybody has one that you're thinking, hey, I can think of, I'd be using.
We were just talking about the equations for the form.
Equations for the form? Yep.
That are more park friendly.
Excellent. Well, that'll help with that. All right. Anything else? No. Now, I will say, if you want to get some more details about add-ons in general, don't forget that on our Spark Google resource site, let me go ahead and share this out here. There we go. On our Spark Google resource site, which again is just google.apps.spark.org, it's also linked in the agenda for today. On our Spark Google resource site, we do have a whole section on tutorials and help guides, and one of them does include add-ons. So if you are on our Spark Google resource site and you go to the Google tutorials and help guides, if you choose either documents or sheets, because it just came out for forms, so I don't have it updated for forms yet, but if you choose documents or sheets, inside of those you'll find lots of different help guides, and one of them is, let me find it here, there's add-ons. Add-ons for Google Documents and Sheets. So there's a help guide right here, and at the moment, again, I just have docs and sheets. I need to add forms to this later, but it talks you through what are add-ons, bless you, what are add-ons, how to install them, how to remove them, and what are some recommended ones for docs, what are some recommended ones for sheets. and then I'll need to add in some recommended ones for forms as well. Okay, but this document is available for you guys, as well as many other help guides and tutorials, all on our Spark resource site there. All right. Well, I'm going to switch to my last thing that I'm going to share, which is I'm going to talk a little bit about a Chromebook. And then Anthony, you as well, please feel free to jump in on this topic as well, because I know you've got one of them up there. Are you actually using it at the moment, Anthony?
Yes, I am. And if you watch, I'm going to show them a feature before you even talk about it.
Well, hang on. I don't have you up on the screen here, so hang on to that for a second, and then I will show. Once we get to that, I'll pull you up to this big screen. The folks here can't see you, so let me get a chance to move this over. All right. Now, this is in no way like we're not endorsing a certain product or anything like that. We just came across this recently, and we thought, wow, that's different. That's kind of cool. Let's let the districts know about it. There's a lot of Chromebook purchases, going on. Fantastic, wonderful idea. We love Chromebooks. A lot of great things that can come from those. And when we see something a little different, just want to pass it on to you. And so today we're going to talk about a Chromebook, and here it is, from a company called CTL. Now, in the agenda, I've got links to their website, and links to, I think PC Magazine did a review on them, so I've got links to all of that in there. And we want to talk just real briefly about this Chromebook. And at first glance, you may say, well, Eric, it's a Chromebook. A Chromebook's a Chromebook. And you're right. You're very true. Google wants to have the experience be as consistent as possible. They don't want a student opening up a Chromebook going, oh, that's the one from blah, blah company. Oh, yeah, that's right. It doesn't do that. Or this is the one from that company. Oh, yeah, you got to hold it a different way. Google definitely wants these to be very much a similar experience. Having said that, CTL has really worked hard to try to make their Chromebook be considerate of the problems an educational environment might thrust upon a Chromebook. So a couple of quick things. Now, you can't tell maybe just by looking at this, but the first thing I'm going to let you know is that the actual case, the actual shell of this Chromebook is ruggedized. Okay, so if you were to compare this to a lot of the Chromebooks out there that have a bit of a give to them, this is a much tougher case. And I'll pass one around here if you guys just want to pass around and feel it there. It's a much tougher case, meaning that one of the big concerns people have is screens being cracked. Okay, that happens with Chromebooks, and a lot of times that can happen by stacking things on it, which you still don't want to stack things on your Chromebook, but this is going to take a lot more weight and a more of a drop. It's more ruggedized with this harder plastic. And it's not a real slippery, slick plastic. It's got a bit of a texture to it, so it's a little easier to hold on to it. So first of all, you probably would not have to buy a case for this, okay? If you bought this Chromebook, you probably would not need like a clamshell case to click around it, because it already is a pretty sturdy shell for the Chromebook. So that's one piece to it. Another thing that's neat about it is it comes with its own carrying handle. Okay, so right here where it opens up, it also has a little handle. And so again, you would not necessarily need a case because the kids could just carry it around like that. And this is all reinforced here where the handle attaches so that it's very sturdy. It's built off of the model used for I'm going to forget what it was. I think it was called the Classmate PC. It was like a clamshell computer that was all reinforced. They built it off of that design model. Okay, so you've got a tougher exterior. You've got the little handle to carry it with. Another thing that's worth noticing is that it's water resistant. I don't want to say waterproof. I don't think anybody would want to say that, but it's water resistant in that the keyboard here, there's a membrane underneath the keyboard that if anything spills on it, it then comes out through these two drain holes down here in the bottom. And so it does its best to divert water around and then drain it out through the bottom. So that's nice. Speaking of the bottom of it, from what I understand, I have not opened one up yet, but supposedly you can pop these off, take the screws out, and it opens up really easy. So you can replace the battery yourself, and where the power supply is, where the power plug's in here, one of the big concerns people talk about sometimes with Chromebooks is because they're getting plugged in and out and wiggled around, is that what happens is the little power connector here is typically soldered onto the motherboard, and if that cracks because this is getting wiggled around a lot, if that cracks, you're pretty much toast and you got to get a new motherboard because it's all one piece. In this case, where the power plugs in, it is not soldered onto the motherboard. It's connected through some other method that if it cracked, you could just take out that power connector, put a new one in, and you'd still be good to go. So they've tried to think about what could go wrong in a classroom with a Chromebook and what might help with that. Now, Anthony is going to demonstrate one of the coolest features about this. I'll show you from this angle, but then he's going to show you there, is that it also has a webcam built in here. You're like, well, of course it has a webcam. All the Chromebooks have a webcam, except that this webcam moves. Now, you can see here, I'm going to twist it a little bit. You can see it actually moves. Now, not only does it move, it flips all the way around. Now, Anthony, let me put you up on the screen here so people can see you. Show that in action.
Well, here I am, and now you're viewing the board. So I can take a screenshot of the board if I'm a student. I can shoot a QR code. All the sort of things I can do with a tablet that it's very difficult to do with a laptop. I'm back.
All right. And what's neat about that is as you flip that around, it didn't require you to click anything or do anything special.
No, I'm standing on my head.
It realizes that once it crosses that point, it realizes it's facing the other way, and it has a hardware switch in there that resets the image so that it's now right side up. So I think that's a creative idea that, you know, webcams are fantastic to have, but sometimes you don't want it to be front facing. Maybe you do want to flip it around the other direction so you can see what's behind you, take pictures and things like that with it. So we thought that was worth noting. So schools that are looking for Chromebooks, I would just encourage you to have this on your list of ones to consider. Certainly a good one. It's from CTL. If you just Google CTL Chromebook, you can find it, but we've got all the links in our agenda for today as well. Anthony, you've been playing around with it as well. Anything else you want to add about that Chromebook?
Well, I tested it with my 3.5-year-old grandson. He liked it very much, although he chose to use a mouse instead of the touchpad because he's used to the mouse. But the touchpad's very responsive as far as I'm concerned, and everything works very nicely. You should have told me I didn't need to change the camera because I've been standing on my head here the whole time, so I've been facing the right way.
Well, I'm glad you're so agile. So you took one for the team there, Anthony. Oh, I should say also, it has the newest processor in it. So for those that are like crazy about, oh, what are the specs? It has a Bay Trail processor, so it's the most recent, most powerful current processor available for Chromebooks. All right, well, I'm going to switch this over to Anthony. Anybody have any comments about that?
Or how much is that?
The cost on it, they do bulk pricing, but I think the price without any kind of discount, correct me if I'm wrong, Anthony, weren't we somewhere around $270-ish?
Yes. Yeah? It was that's without the management software.
Right, you always have to think $30 for the management thing, but I believe most Chromebooks come in around $250. This one I think comes in right around $270-ish, but with bulk purchases, we've seen it drop down lower than that, but that's the list cost for it. But you don't have to buy a case, so that could bring it in par with others as well, and you pick up some additional nice features with it at the same time. Yeah. All right, well, I'm going to turn things over to Anthony because he wanted to share some show and tell things, and that's going to bring us pretty much up to the end of our time here, but once he's done, we still want to let anybody else who wanted to share something, we would love for you guys to do so. So I'm going to turn this over to Anthony, but you guys can still pipe in here at the end if you've got some last-minute things you'd like to talk about. Okay, go ahead, Anthony.
Well, Eric, first of all, I want to double-check to make sure I am screencasting.
Yes, you are.
Very good. And there's links to everything I'm talking about down at the bottom of the page here on your agenda, which I just scrolled the wrong direction. And I just found this the other day by chance, and I also found out that you may not have it. It's only certain people that are seeing this. But I thought in light of wanting something new today, we take a look at just Google's homepage or Google's search page. Now, you probably know about the I'm Feeling Lucky button, but if you move to the You Are Lucky, you will see the button swap around like I call it a slot machine. And each time I go there, if I would click on it, it gives me a different result. So I felt I was feeling wonderful, so now it's giving me some historical villages and some wonders of the world. I'm going to go back again, and I'm going to move my mouse until it changes again, and I'm feeling generous. So now that brings me out to some sites where there's some crowdsourcing where I can contribute to projects, both monetary and with actions. I'm going to go back again because I'm feeling lucky, and I'm feeling playful. My wife wouldn't agree with that all the time. He says I'm sort of compulsive. Oh, there's a Gumby. There's Gumby. That tells you how old I am. I remember when it first came out. Now, I could keep going through this and keep hitting the thing until I get the one I want. But on your agenda for today, I have placed a list of what each of them mean. So if you do I'm Feeling Artistic, you will get a random Google Art project. By the way, my favorite one is I'm Feeling Puzzled, where you get a Google a Day question, which you can also subscribe to in addition to using this method. So that's my search and tell tidbit for the month. And also want to remind you that I have a search site that I maintain at tiny.cc/rsearch instead of research. And if you go there, I've sort of went crazy with things because I love to do searching. So I have some searching links that you might find interesting, some posters you can print. But the biggest thing, and you won't see the edit on the side because I have edit capability, I have a list of 219 websites. So I want to get you out of that Google rut and get you into using a variety of search sites. And we'll talk about some of those in some of my future tidbits. Any questions?
My phone's ringing. It's a call-in person here. I'm going to have to... I
have a screen inside of a screen inside of a screen now.
Yeah, it must be getting close to the end because, yeah, we're having issues with that here. I'm going to have to turn that down here. Hold on a second. Sorry about that, guys. It is not a call-in person. Hang on a second here. All right, there we go. But before we wrap up here, let me go ahead and here we go. Pop back over to this. All right, very good. Before we wrap up here, I'm going to double check and see if there are any other questions that have come in through a variety of different means. We do have find I got too many pages opened up here now. Oh my gosh, I have a lot of pages opened up. How about all of those? Closed out of a few of these at some point here, you would think. Okay, here's our user group meeting event page. Just going to see if anybody else posted anything to that page. Going to give a quick look here. You can always come in here and type in the Say Something box, and you can fill in some information. But I don't see anything on that page, so that's okay. And I'm going to double check our Q&A app and see if any questions came in there. No questions on the Q&A app. And I'll take one more look at our agenda, and I don't see that anybody's typed in any more questions there. No, we have not received any more there. As I'll give everybody here a last chance to think if there's something you would like to share. As we start to wrap up here, just say please share with other people if you felt that this was a valuable meeting. It is being recorded, so I'll shortly after this post the link on our user group page, and you can direct other people to that. We'd love to keep doing these sort of things, and hopefully it'll be valuable to people that are attending either in person or online or viewing at a later date and time. If you want to stay in touch with Anthony and myself, we do have all of our contact information as well on that agenda. At the very, very, very top, under introductions, you'll see my Spark email address and my personal email address, and then Anthony's as well, so you can get in touch with us. And under the important links, there's a lot of other ways to plug into us there as well. That's about it. Let me see, anybody here in person? Any last comments? I'm sorry, go ahead, Anthony.
I had one quick thing. You may want to join me in Portage County one of these months, because right now it's 82 degrees and sunny outside here. And I don't know what it's like there, but it's beautiful here in Garfield.
We don't believe you. We don't believe you. Yes, we will continue to hold these in 2 locations, partly because of the restraining order between Anthony and myself. So legally we have to do that. But besides that, we just want to make this as convenient as possible for folks. So if you live up in Portage County, we want you to be able to come and sit in person with Anthony. If you live more in Stark County, you can come here. And if neither one works, you can join us online. So we will continue to do that as well. So any last-minute comments, questions from the group here? Yes.
I have a question. When I went to add one of the add-ins, there was all kinds of permissions that I'd asked for, and I know that's going to...
Yeah.
Can you give me...
As far as when you go to install an add-in, without question, there's going to be permissions that pop up where it says, you know, to use this add-on, you need to grant this, 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 and so forth. The best suggestion I could give for you would be, before you install the add-on, if you scroll down through the description of it, below there's a section for reviews. As long as there's nothing in there that is, you know, saying, ah, boy, this add-on, you know, ripped me off, something bad happened because of it. As long as it's 5-star reviews, as long as it's good information there, I think that can go a long way to helping people feel more comfortable that, oh, this isn't some fly-by-night thing. This add-on is well known. There's a lot of people that are using it. They've rated it well. It's got thousands of users. And you know, that gives you at least some comfort level to trust that the add-on is not trying to take advantage of you. I can also say that if it's anything from New Visions, which is Andrew Stillman's the school that he works with, you can trust any of those. The ones like, you know, Gubrick and Doctopus and Autocrat and all the silly sounding names ones. If they're from New Visions, you can definitely give them a thumbs up and know that those are going to be safe and excellent ones. But I would refer them to the reviews and say that no, these are perfectly fine. You're not giving away any permission that is going to harm you. Anthony, any feedback on that?
Yeah, I agree. Do the same thing when you're putting add-ons, extensions for your browser, for anything. Always look at the reviews, because sometimes people will come up with an extension or an add-on that sounds very similar to try and trick people into installing it. And you'll see very quickly that the reviews say, you know, this is a rip-off of whatever. So I would definitely avoid that. By the way, I had one other suggestion. If they don't want to go to Stark County or Portage County, they can create their own little center at their location and invite all their friends and family over.
Oh, so we're gonna have, yeah, we'll have Spark Google User Group viewing parties. That's the next step. Oh, hey, sounds like a plan to me. All right.
There alcohol?
Some locations.
If you're not at Spark, we can't stop you from whatever you want to do at the party. So there, go ahead, and it sounds like an incentive to do your own viewing party. That's right.
I'm going to finish my drink and then I'll be done.
Thanks again so much to everybody here today and to those that are viewing this later on. We'd love to hear from you and stay in touch, and have a fantastic school year as we continue on into the holiday season. Thanks, Anthony. Thanks, everybody else. I'm going to stop the broadcast at this point.